Hello there, and welcome to my Arty Corner here on YouTube. I'm Angela Porter, and I love to draw. And I also love to inspire others to do the same, or to offer advice from my perspective and share with you my thinking process on various things. Now, if you've been watching my videos, excuse me if I've just turned away for a moment because I've put something somewhere and I don't know where I've put it. Over here, there we go. Great way to be organised, isn't it? I had actually organised myself, but like always, I kind of think through things and then I kind of don't. So at the moment, I'm working on filling this accordion journal that I made from ready-made greetings cards. And there'll always be, while I'm working in this, a link to the video where I made this, and also to the original video on Witchcraft Do You Do's channel as well, so you can look at either or both. And I've got 2 pages done. I'm not too happy. I mean, I love this. This one I'm not very happy with, and I don't know what to do about it. But I like the gold background. Haven't done the gold background here yet, because I may do copper for a change. But what I'm doing is I'm working on this to go here. And I thought this might be nice to have as a journaling card or something else. So I created this so that it opens up. And that's what I'm going to be working on today. Because I thought if I want to write something in here or to put mementos in or to draw something else, it'd be nice to have a frame on each page. So that's exactly what I've done here, except I've just noticed I forgot to put that border in here. I find these kind of rulers that have a grid marked on them, so you can actually just line them up without having to measure. You can see, right, that'll do for the thickness. Are absolutely fantastic. I've got this one which is inches. It's a Tim Holtz Ideology one. I presume they're still available, but I don't know. And I've also got another one which I think is my X-cut. In fact, I've got a couple lurking around. I've even got a quilter's ruler which does the same job. But there's lots of different brands out there you can use, and I just find them really helpful for doing things like this. Always quick, always easy. Okay, so what I thought I'd do today was to fill these 2 pages in the edges with patterns, or at least make a start on them. And it is something that I really, really do enjoy doing. So I think what I'll do in one of them, I'm going to do, you can't do a border and not do something like poke leaf or poke root. I particularly like poke leaf, so that's where I'm going to start. And I'm going to start I'm actually going to start from the inside, and I'm going to create my little stem here, like so. Perhaps if I zoom in, there we go, you'll be able to see. I'll put the little cap on it, and then I can draw my lovely heart-shaped leaf. And the fact it spills outside the lines, I don't mind so much, because I'm not going to draw a defined border in here. I'm going to just make use of this. So I'm going to start from kind of the middle of this leaf, towards one side perhaps, and put the next stem in. And I am making mine broader towards the base and narrower towards the top. And then I'm going to create my heart-shaped leaf like this. And it may not look exactly right, but I'm not too worried. Perhaps I ought to have these kind of moving towards the point where I want the point of my leaf to be. That's a better way of doing it. There we are. I've worked that out. So even though this here may not be the best example, there'll be others like it along the way. But I don't know if you noticed what I did. I sort of drew this pointing towards the side I want the leaf to go, and then I started drawing the leaf at the edge opposite it, more or less. However you do it, it will always work out. This is just how I'm going to do mine today. And oddly, this doesn't take too long. Now with this one, that is a bit of an awkward one there. Where there are gaps between the leaves like this, I'm just going to fill them in with a bit of ink, and also where they meet in spaces. I don't want the leaves really to spill over into the middle bit too much, because that is where something is either going to be drawn or something's going to be stuck, or I don't know yet. But I just thought this might be a nice kind of idea, so let's do the same idea here. So I'm going to start up here. I'm going to draw my leaf like so. I'm going to fill these little gaps in like that. And I'm just going to carry on in the same kind of style all the way along. So I trust you're all doing fine and well. I'm okay here. I was doing some work yesterday, got engrossed in that, but also in, if you've seen the discussion, or not the discussion, what do you call it, the community section, I've been posting some of my creepy cuties, and it's what I call my sort of warm-up to art at the moment, as my muscles free up and so on, because today it was stiff as anything. I must have slept awkwardly last night on my side, and so I've got aches and pains in between my ribs where I hurt the muscles, and I suspect it's not muscular now. I suspect it might be a bit of ligament or tendon damage. It'll take forever to heal, it has to be said. But you know, most days it's fine. It's just that it was really noticeably sore this morning. But the painkillers kicked in and all's well. The knock-on effect is I'm getting trouble with my lower back as well. But that's fine. I should really be going out for a walk. It's lovely and sunny here if cold. But I've got a delivery, as I did yesterday, and you don't know until too late in the day when they're going to arrive. So as much as I would have loved to have a walk out yesterday, it just didn't happen. But it's fine, there'll be other days. And it was bitterly cold last night, not as cold as we'd had it in the really cold snap just before Christmas, where I think it got to about -10 at night. I think. I could be wrong. But certainly sub-zero last night. Out. It's forecast to be tonight, possibly with snow showers. Oh, joy of joys. And I'm supposed to be heading off to the wilds of Blaenavon to a meeting. But I may just have to cancel on that one because of the cold, the chill, the prospect of snow up there. Now, that leaf I made a very strange shape, and I'll explain now. So, see how I feel in a little while. Although I may get some notification. Actually, I think what I'm going to be doing with these is I like that black space filling these in. It's got that very etched or woodcut book plate feel to it from the arts and crafts kind of time, or Art Nouveau even, which I think came after the arts and crafts. The arts and crafts warped into Art Nouveau, I think. I could be wrong, mind you. It's my knowledge of art history, and I think I will make use of these straight lines here just to fill these bits in on the other side, as if there is a band of black behind the leaves, something behind, and the leaves are able to spill over it. Which I think works quite nicely. There we go. So I'll have to decide about that sooner rather than later, so I can let them know whether to expect me at the meeting. I've been invited along, but I think it was mentioned that the weather was forecast to be a bit grim, so... And I don't like going out in the cold and the ice, and I certainly don't like getting a cold or chill into my muscles, because I've still got work to do, and I've got whimsical houses templates that need colouring need to be done fairly soon, but more importantly, it's the cover designs and sample illustrations for the next book. So I got one done today. Oddly, I've actually drew it in pencil and I've inked it in with pen, because I really enjoy drawing on paper. I don't mind doing digital drawing, but it has its advantage in that it's easy to edit things and to change things, especially after you've completed something. But I can still do that even if I ink things in traditionally. I get a better feeling for what the illustration's going to be like. So I've still got bits and bobs to do, and there's some other stuff I need to get done as well. So, but all's well. It's all fine and good. Other exciting news, I suppose, is that I just before or just after Christmas, I was persuaded to invest in some Google home devices, I suppose, things that I suppose are Google's equivalent of Alexa and the like. And I was thinking, well, why do I need these? So I got one that had a display, which is great. And I also got one of the minis to go into my back room near the kitchen, so I could listen to music while I cook easily and get Google to do things like timers and what have you. And possibly even conversions from like American units, if I'm using a recipe that's in cups or whatever. Cups to grams, American cups to grams, please, Google. At which point you get some kind of ridiculous number in grams, but hey ho, digital scales make it easy. But I decided that it would be really rather good to have one in my studio, my office studio area. Because although I can access things like Spotify on my computer to listen to music while I work and other things, there's other things that it's easy just to ask Google for, like what's the weather going to be tonight in Blaenavon? And to be able to just say, can you play me this kind of music? Or whatever I may need. So that's what I did. And so that was my little bit of technological excitement yesterday. It's all set up, all working well and fine and good. So I'm a happy bunny. So I'm getting around this, aren't I? The fact that all of these leaves are a little bit different adds to the charm, I think. And it also makes them feel, it feels very natural, more natural than contrived. And even where I make little mistakes in inking in, that all adds to it as I correct them and so on. So don't ever worry about little inconsistencies. If you want perfection, that's where computer programs come in. But it is rather nice to have that human touch, that perfectly imperfect touch. And what you will do that is perfectly imperfect is all related to you and how you draw, how you create. It's all part and parcel of your personality. There's a hair on my top here that's bugging me. So there's all kinds of things that can be done. If you don't point it out, most people won't even notice. Unless there's somebody like me who tends to notice everything, but I'm too polite to point things out at times. because it would be rude to. And I quite like those variations anyway. So I just think it's what makes your art, which is also why I don't mind sharing kind of what I do and let people gain inspiration and, you know, try drawing things the way I do, perhaps, or the methods I use, because you will never really ever replicate how I draw, because your muscles will not move in the same way that mine do. And so even though you may draw a very similar design or the same design, it would be yours for the, you know, for all argument's sake, I suppose. This is going to be interesting because I do want to get one in the corner here, so I'm going to have a very short squat one here. But it's fine, it is what it is. In fact, I'm going to have this one looping back behind that one, so I've got a bit of overlapping going on there, which is quite cute. It works. I will just fill that section in. I'll leave this section until I've drawn my next leaf, which I think would go... Which direction would it go in? Well, I think I'm going to have it going kind of in this direction. Perhaps add a slightly longer stem. And then I can have it going along here and back up there. That makes some kind of sense. There we go. So let's have a look here. Nearly done. So it's going to be interesting when I get back to the corner how I get these to join up. But I shall cross that bridge when I get there. You know, thinking about it, I could have started, you know, from two corners and have them meet, you know, from diagonally opposite corners and have them meet and start here and then have them join up together. But it's fine as it is. I mean, if it was a plant growing, it would, you know, a single stem of a plant, it would start in one place and come back to the other. But this one may have actually worked out serendipitously well, to be honest. We'll see now how this works out. Okay, so I want one that goes this way. I think we might end up with a bit of overlapping going on here, to be honest. Perhaps a little one. I'm trying to work out how do I get this one to join. I think I'll have to go this way, and I'm going to make it quite a broad leaf. That actually works quite nicely, I think. That'll do. That will do. It will do just fine and dandy. So that's one border. I've got some areas where I haven't really got the ink in very well, but it'll be fine. Because once I erase the pencil lines, I'll most probably have to go back and add some ink in because the eraser will pick up some of the pigments. So if I zoom back out, you'll be able to see the whole of that one page. So I've now got this nice area inside. And so, for example, let me have a look. I have got so much stuff here, it's ridiculous. Oh, come on, out you come. Any one of you will do. Oh, there we go. So this is one of the photographs in a Tim Holtz set called Photo Booth. Don't know if they're still available. They are. It's just Tim Holtz. Who's it made by? It's just Tim Holtz. It is. But Photo Booth. This is actually faded in the sunlight. I really like that. She looks like a friend I had at school so much, but she's not. How interesting. But this would make you imagine any kind of picture, put the top, space for writing and so on, or just for filling in the pattern, or for putting tickets from a show or a journey there, or whatever else that you may pick up. Sorry, I just hit the microphone then with those photo booth things. Okay, so that's one side done. Now the other side, it would be nice, wouldn't it, if I did something like poke roots to go in here, but I don't want to do two the same. I want to make them a bit different in flavour perhaps, or in the way that we create them. And I think what I'm going to do in this case is I think I may see if I can just divide this up into, let me have a look, we're going to split that way, this way, roughly into squares. It doesn't have to be exact. I think that's about halfway. So I'll split it halfway again that way, halfway again this way. And then if I split those into halves, we've roughly got squares there. Some of them will be a bit more rectangular than others, but it'll do. And I'm thinking here, what would I like to do in this? See, my mind always goes for an old standby, which is a variation of well. And I think I might. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the centre of each of these, because they are just a guide, so roughly in the centre. And some will be further apart, others won't be. And I'm just going to, others won't be. Some will be further apart, others won't be. I don't know if that made any sense. I know what I was trying to say. Sometimes I listen to myself and I think, what blather have I just said now? What has dribbled out of my mouth without thinking it through properly? And it's lovely that some of you pick that up in comments and sometimes say, really gracious and saying that's really a good piece of advice. And I'm going, yeah, but it's not what I meant. So now hopefully this will work, because let me try this with this first and see, because it's having them go around and not have something peculiar happen. So that would be underneath there, up, yeah, I think it'll work actually. Seems to be. I'm just going to double check. Because I'm working in pencil, I can quickly erase this, so I'm not really being precise about what I'm doing here. It's just so that I can check that everything will join up as I expect or require it to. And it does. There we go. So that only took a short period of time to do, and it's put my mind at rest. So I'm going to do a variation of well, and I'm going to start by joining these dots up with these arcs, which are going to go to the edge of the line. So I say arcs, they're more like C shapes. So let me zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going from the outside edge of one dot to the outside, the opposite outside edge of this one. And then above, I'm going to start from what will be the outside edge of this shape and go back down. And I'm going to carry on doing that all the way around. Like so. Then here I can see that I've gone, if I tried to go, because this stops on this outside edge, if I tried to go upwards, I'd actually cross that line. So I really do need to go below, because we don't want to cross these lines, or we don't want to have these lines crossing. Now this makes a pattern that I became familiar with long before I discovered Zentangle. And it's a pattern that's very common in Celtic art, Iron Age art, Latene culture art, possibly even Etruscan and early art. And I'd managed to work out how to draw it because it just intrigued me. It's just got these beautiful shapes in it that remind me of ginkgo leaves, which I absolutely love. And I fell in love with those with Art Nouveau jewellery. Ginkgo leaves feature so much in Art Nouveau. There's just something so wonderful about the shape of a ginkgo leaf. I think it's pronounced ginkgo, not ginkgo. I could be wrong. Somebody will tell me if I'm wrong. But I actually had for a number of years walked about once a week right next to a ginkgo tree in a park in Neath. I used to go there every week for an appointment, and I'd go a bit early in the day so I could perhaps have lunch and have a walk around this municipal park, this small beautiful park. And it was only one autumn when I noticed these bright yellow leaves on the floor. I thought, hang on, they're ginkgo leaves. So I had to look around, and all the trees were labelled and where they were gifted from. And exactly, sort of like behind a couple of other trees or hidden by some bushes, there was a sign and there was this ginkgo tree there. And I went, oh my goodness. So I think I had another year of being able to see the leaves appear and everything else until I left. Yeah, I didn't need to go to that appointment anymore. And it was absolutely, I was just so amazed by that. Okay, so next steps. This is where it becomes interesting, because in the corners it's going to be very interesting, but perhaps I'll come back to them because it will make sense. Is between, now we need to connect these two dots to the outside edge, to the opposite edge, and this is where we do like these shapes. And I'm not hitting these very well. I think this pen has just about had its day. For rough paper, I think it'll still be all right on smoother paper. The fact it's a bit distressed is working well for me with my creepy cuties, which I'm so glad so many of you seem to like. Now then, you can see, if I show here, these sort of arc down towards the centre there and there. So, to that point. So here would go like that. Here would go like this. And I'll worry about that corner there when I get to it. But I'm just going to carry on doing this all the way around. I remember seeing some Iron Age art, in particular in the museum in Cardiff, the National Museum of Wales. I was a child because they used to be on display there. This is one of those ones where I've already got that side drawn in, so all I need to do is draw the other side in. And I think that particular display is now down at the National Folk Museum in St Fagans. I haven't been there for years, so maybe I'll try to get there when the weather's a bit milder, maybe. Or on a day like today when I haven't got any deliveries, so I can just go and enjoy a walk around with my camera. And they've got a beautiful medieval church there chapel, church, that they rebuilt stone by stone. It was moved there one stone at a time. And the last time I was there, they were doing the paintings on the walls, the inscriptions, the same style, kind of way they would have been done in medieval times. And it was fascinating to look, but they looked too good to be medieval, as it were, as well. And I don't mean that as a way of dismissing the medieval artisans in any way. Okay, what I'm doing here is I am creating this inner edge, but instead of just drawing a straight line, I'm actually starting a little bit below the line and just curving the ends down a little bit just to add. It just feels the right thing to do. I can't explain in any other way why I'm doing it other than it feels right. And I'll do exactly the same thing on the other side. So I'm just going back and starting here. Because then once I've done this side, I can turn it round and do the next one. And I'm going to leave the corners for now. I'm going to finish doing this and then decide how I'm going to complete these corners, because they are a bit awkward, and I may need to do something a little bit different there, but I'm not all that sure yet. And this space would be a lovely place to put some hand lettering. Again, I'm not really sure what I want to do here, but I will work it out in a moment. Part of me is thinking I perhaps could have chosen to start this in a different way, a different place. Sort of like one square along, and I'd have had a different finish in the corner. I think. One square along? Yeah, one dot along. So instead of starting this here, we'd have put it there instead. Not quite sure what difference that would make. I can't envisage it at the moment. But I think it would have made a more interesting corner, or a neater kind of corner for us. But we'll have a look. So sometimes it's only when you finish it can you see, what you can finish. You can see, oh yeah, that's what I want to do there. Or no, it'll look okay exactly how it is. This doesn't look all right. Well, I don't know, it could look all right exactly how it is. What would really happen is this would come off here to start the other half of the design. So, so I could just, perhaps that's what I'll do, is go like that, and then perhaps that would actually work okay. It's not ideal, but it's the best I think I can do. Like so. Because it does complete the pattern, but in a half kind of way. But it creates that corner, and actually that's not too bad. It would make more sense perhaps if I'd put the dividing lines in, but I didn't want to put the dividing lines and the boxes in, which is why I used pencil lines. Let me zoom out so you can see. I didn't want to use ink dividing lines. I wanted to use the pencil lines. These beautiful shapes here, the ones that are like ginkgo leaves, really stand out. So what I'm going to do before I do anything else is I am going to remove my pencil lines, and I am going to leave these as they are in black and white. As I did on the one in the front, I have got my pencil case and my Pitt Artist pens in. Pens, what's pren? Oh, pren measure is Welsh for ruler. So pren must mean pren measure, measuring rule, measuring line, stick or something. I don't know, it's an odd one. Yeah, I'm learning Welsh, if you didn't know. I've been learning Welsh on Duolingo for nearly 2 years, and every now and again, well, this week or the last couple of days, it's been about hair and eye colour and things and so on. And I learnt that the Welsh for beard is barf, which is spelt barf. I'm leaving that there. Barf as in upchuck, not barf as in what you get into to have a wash, an all-over wash or a soak and a relax. And that amused me greatly. Yeah. Adolescent humour is me. So what I'm going to do with these, at the bottom of each of these, I'm going to put some ink and an aura, and I'm going to do that all the way round before I do anything else here. I'm not going to try and measure them out exactly. They'll appear just as they appear. I'm sure it'll work out fine. Even these little half ones, I'm going to do exactly the same in the corner. But you have to be careful there that you get the right section in the corner to do this too. Because I think you'll spot it. I'll show you how I spot it when we come to the next corner. So yeah, so I'm not going to measure these out and put extra lines in. They have to go here. It's that hand-drawn, perfectly imperfect, slightly wibbly-wobbly, slightly odd, you know, or an evenness that makes it, you know, gives it that touch of human nature, which I try so hard to get into work, that ink in digitally. Okay, so I can see this is the next one, but if you look, so here is where I'll pop my ink here and this one. Then the next one along, I can see this shape here, and I can pop the ink there, but if I go back here to the corner, I can see this is where that section would be on that one, if that makes sense. So sometimes it's easier to work on the big ones and then work back to those half ones, and it's easy then to spot which is which. Again, this doesn't take very long. The repetition actually is very soothing. You get into a rhythm with it where you don't have to think about what you're doing in some ways. My problem is I can get in the flow too much with it, and then I get confused about what I'm doing and if I've done something right. But sometimes when that happens, you discover something new, a new way of doing something, a new kind of variation on a pattern, or an entirely different pattern. So you just go with it. The worst thing that would happen is that I have to get a thick black pen out and fill a section in black, and then work on that black with pattern and so on. Now I did want to put some black in these sections because it adds that weight and gravity to them and helps to separate them from the other sections. And I'm also going to add some lines to these. So I'm going to start in the middle, and then I'm going to gradually bend them towards the outside edge. And I'm going to do that in each one. By bending these lines, it gives a great deal of movement and a sense of volume to these shapes as well. You could do them as straight lines, but we're really aiming to get them to be auraing this outside edge. You can start from the outside in if you prefer, gradually making them straighter and straighter. You could also put a break in the line, so you get a little natural illusion of a highlight there. But today I'm going through these with straight lines. And some of these may have more lines in, there may be an uneven number of lines on each side, and really it doesn't matter because the overall illusion will mean that these sort of stand out. And for this, I used an 05 pen to draw the design in, but for this, I'm using That's interesting because I've lost where. You have a look, that one. Right up in that corner, isn't it? Be there. Oh, excuse me. Well, that took a little longer than I expected. Little phone call, so I'm just putting glasses on and getting back to this. And of course, naturally, I haven't got a clue what I was talking about. But because, well, I asked to take part in a survey for an organisation campaign that I've volunteered for a number of years, though since the pandemic I haven't done much for them because that involves going where there are people. And I talk about this from time to time, and you know, I've experienced mental ill health throughout most of my life without realising it. I'm a lot better now, an awful lot better, except for the sticky problem of social anxiety. And didn't realise how bad it was until COVID pandemic and lockdowns meant that I spent an awful lot of time on my own, and suddenly realised when I did go back out in the world the enormity of the anxiety that I carried and always had done, and also the toll it takes on me in terms of energy and the ability to focus and to do things. And sometimes it can wipe me out for days, depending on the event or how many people are there. And sometimes, there are times when it's worth that, being exhausted from spending time with people. Last Friday I went out for brunch with my niece and my older sister, and that was lovely. Although I was probably there a couple of hours too long because I was like a zombie in the evening. I couldn't do anything. I didn't even draw. All I could do was sit and mindlessly watch whatever was on, whatever I was watching on YouTube or whatever. And just doing these little ones in the corners because I haven't sorted those ones out. So up there. So it absolutely floored me. But I think I've done that wrong. It'll be fine. I have. Oh, it'll work its way out in the end. They always do. But so all very interesting because I've naturally forgotten what I was talking about. So, oh yeah. So there are things where I'll expend my energy for a good cause and so on, for something that has value to me as well as to other people. It has to be a two-way thing. But there's only so much I can do at this time. I don't know if doing more would build up resilience or would just mean that I have more and more cases of, I suppose, a burnout. I just run out of energy completely, and it can take me a long time to restore that. It has a knock-on effect. It's not just having a low energy. It means that my emotions can be very fragile and my thoughts about myself can be equally as fragile. And so there has to be, not to sound selfish, but sometimes there has to be a good enough reason for me to expend all of that mental and emotional energy, anxiety-wise. But I guess we all have to find ways of coping with life in this kind of way, and I say all of us, those of us who experience this kind of anxiety anyway. Makes me wonder how I actually managed for most of my life to live with it. And I did, because I didn't know any different. Nobody'd ever explained to me what good mental and emotional health was. And it's only when everything was just so overwhelming, and I ended up at the GP's surgery in quite a state, I had to learn this is not normal, this is not healthy, not everybody is like this. Not everybody thinks and feels the same way as you do. You need a major break from work, you need a major break from lots of things. Otherwise you will, the phrase my GP used was break your mind. And that was enough to scare me into, okay then, I'll do as you say. Kind of. That actually works out quite nicely. It creates an interesting, oh, I've got one there I've missed. Makes quite an interesting contrast between these that are patterned and the others that aren't. And I think that will make quite a nice addition into my little journal. Don't know what you think. Just checking around the corners. That's the one I got wrong. It should have been there. What an idiot. It is what it is. I may try some white stuff on it. But if I haven't pointed it out, does it stand out as weird? Probably, but it'll be fine. I don't know, which one do you prefer? I know what I'm going to be asked to do. So I've got my Pit Artist pens here. Now I'm not going to do all of this because I think I'm most probably at the best part of an hour now at this. But what I'm going to do, firstly, is to make sure I get rid of all the pencil I can before I do anything else. Because my experience of not getting rid of the pencil before I do anything with Pit Artist pens is that you can't afterwards. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to look at where I can add some pencil there. I went over that as well. Some up there. Anywhere else? No, we're good. We're good, we're good. This is, as I'm going to stick the back down, I'm going to use the back. This one is quite pale. This one's a little bit darker. And this one is quite a bit darker. So I think I'll use the two lightest for this. Maybe come back to the darker one, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of the mid-tone at the base of these stems, and I'm going to do a few at a time, then I'm going to come back with my lighter colour, and hopefully while this is still a bit wet, I can blend it out a little bit more, and that will give some dimension to these. So I am putting it where the stems come out of the leaf, as if they're in shadow there. I'm going to be doing this as if the shading that I'm adding is a pattern rather than realism, because this isn't real, nowhere near. So I'm just going to do that, and it's quite valid to do this. You don't have to make everything a realistic work of art, as it were. It's fine to create things that have, where the shadow and light form a pattern rather than, say, that realism. They work, however you do it. That's the thing. So that just adds some shadow and tone to the stem, which helps this give some variation. Now I am going to have a look here at where I'm going to put shadow, and I'm going to keep this way to begin with, because I want to put shadow, I think, to the left and the bottom of leaves. So, and I'm going to use the middle shade, and then I'm going to use the lighter shade just to blend it out a little bit, hopefully. and get some shadow going on. So I'm going to, actually I perhaps need some there and there. It's drying quite quickly, but it'll be fine. It just gives that little bit of roundness, I think. Perhaps I might try doing it the other way around, is perhaps where I put the lighter colour down to get the paper nice and damp, and then use the darker colour into that damp area. Not the lighter colour, the darker colour, the medium shade, because that base coat of the lighter colour will help it to remain damp, which will make it that bit easier to feather the edge out if nothing else. That actually works better. There we are. We've worked it out. So on this one, I'm going to put the grey there, and I'm also going to pop it there and around here because this would be in shadow there. So just remember at some point to dig out some new ones of these. I'm sure I've got some lurking somewhere. They actually work, does work really nicely. Right, so to the left and the bottom. So again, this is the left side, so some darkness there and around here. Especially at the top there, because that would be a little bit in shadow from the leaf above it. So even though I'm working to a kind of formula, if you like, to the left and bottom, I'm still looking at places where we've got some overlap happening, because that will just help with that feeling of dimension. Okay, let's just blend this out a little bit more. So you can see how that is going to work. I'll apply that to the rest of it while the video is processing and what have you, and I'll upload this. Now then, for these, I'm going to put the shadow close to the base of these sections, and then I can add some of this darker tone there while this is hopefully still damp, and that one, and then I can just perhaps ease it out a little bit. Problem here is I'm picking up some of the ink from the pens. That's the one disadvantage of the Pit Artist markers, is that they will pick that ink up. But then again, alcohol markers will. So that's starting to add some dimension as well. For these other ones, I'm so tempted to make these that darker grey, you know. And that would mean I could practically make this one disappear, actually. Let's have a look and see. Yeah, because that does practically make that vanish, doesn't it? And I just think that darker colour would really let these shine there. I could have filled it in with black, but I think it'll be nice to use a different colour grey here, perhaps. These are all cool greys. I could have used warm greys. Or if I was going to use alcohol markers, which I would never do on this paper, because this paper is just like a sponge for them. And they just spread out. Yellow greens would be quite nice, or yellow greens, yellow greys, green greys, I particularly like. The blue greys are quite nice. That was the one I wanted to make vanish. Oh dear, I'm in a pickle here. I think I'll just have to let things be as they're meant to be. Perhaps these ones on all corners will need to be greyed out. Let's have a look. May not be my best. But I think that will work. Maybe that I come back with black to do these in black, and That would be quite nice. What I do want to do though with these, I will find the pen for it in a moment. Hopefully. Depends whether I can find a white gel pen, because I do want to put a white dot on the little black beads. I think that will work quite nicely actually. Yeah, not too sure. But to say, I will carry on with this while the video is uploading. Just pop that there. Do I have a white? Nope, not there. Do I have one over here? The answer is probably nope, not in there. Dang nabbit. Oh, where have I got one? There. Okay. This is a Jelly Roll 08. And where these orbs, I suppose you'd call them in Zentangle terms, have been put, that is where I'm going to just pop a white dot as a highlight there, just to help to show where they are again, because I think that might be needed. I think I'm going to have to do these. It'd be interesting to do these sections with white. Dare I try it? Let me have a... I'm so tempted. So I think... No, perhaps not. I think they need to go black though, because it does look a bit different to over here. So I will deal with that. And maybe I'll have a play on some scrap paper and see if white on black would work nicely for these. Could create an interesting juxtaposition is the word that comes to mind. But I think you get the idea here. And I think that would work nicely enough. So I'm going to say thank you for joining me and for putting up my waffle about this, that and the other. If you're doing the same kind of thing as I am along with me, I hope you have fun. If you're not, 2 borders for you to add tangles or other things in as you wish. And who doesn't love a nice border? I certainly do. Part of me wants to fill this one in with black, because I wish I'd left those white now. Yeah, hindsight 2020. I am going to decide whether I'm going to put a signature of paper in here, which could be fun. I could sew it in, I could glue it in, but I could sew it in. Or could perhaps make something that you slide them in and under. That could be interesting as well. I'll think on that one, but until then, if you've got any suggestions, put it down below. But until then, look after yourselves, find time to be creative, and I'll see you again soon. But bye for now. Bye.